For 125 years, San Diego State University has been at the heart of the community. It's provided education for generations of San Diegans.
When the campus moves out here to Montezuma Mesa in 1931, that gives them a fresh start. And it's just an explosion of creativity on behalf of the students.
Join KPBS for a documentary about the university's legacy through the stories and visions of leaders, alumni, and students. Streaming now with the PBS Video app.
Pegasus, which has been used to monitor and track journalists, human rights activists.
This story would be huge.
NSO was established with the ambition to make the world a safer place.
It's a military weapon used against civilians.
There is no control over how countries use it.
Frontline, Tuesday at 10 on KPBS. You're watching KPBS. Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Could the week-long travel mess at San Diego International Airport finally be improving? Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The airline at the center of it all says it will be back to normal tomorrow. So what does that mean for Southwest passengers? Since the Christmas weekend, visitors have been stuck. Many of them have told us it's cost them time away from family, lots of money, and other consequences. A look at today's flight information still shows more canceled or delayed flights. Isabel Rosales has an update from the company as it tries to restore its service and its reputation.
The cost of Southwest meltdown becoming more apparent. Katie Demko missing her wedding.
We tried to rebook and there was nothing. We are just devastated.
Passengers unable to reach crucial medication and equipment.
People like me are left here trying to gasp for air.
Others missing days of work. So many still stranded away from home.
I'm hungry, I'm exhausted, I just want to go home.
A ray of hope. The nation's largest domestic carrier expects a full schedule come Friday.
That's what we're hearing, and we'll see how that shakes out.
And check this out. The airline offering new online options for canceled customers. Flyers with plans through January 2nd can now request changes to their fare without having to pay additional charges. Submit for missing baggage information and for reimbursement of expenses like hotel, food, and taxis. But for some travelers, it's of little comfort.
I will never get that time back. I trusted Southwest with my worldly belongings and to get me from point A to point B, and I just feel like I was robbed at this point.
A new apology, this time from the airline's chief commercial officer, who vows to rebuild customer trust.
We're focused on restoring the reliability and level of customer experience we expect of ourselves and that you expect from us.
It's fix-it and cleanup mode for Southwest. The company warning it could take days to clear the backlog of stranded people and lost luggage. Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
After dozens of migrants were left at bus stations across San Diego County in the last week, KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne says volunteers jumped in to help get them to their final destinations.
A video taken at an oceanside shelter shows migrants sitting on the floor eating a makeshift Christmas dinner.
Thank you guys all who made this possible, and we're enjoying our Christmas meal. Thank you and Merry Christmas to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Max Disposti with the North County LGBTQ Resource Center was one of the people providing support to the migrants.
We're also quite upset to see how dropping people in the middle of Christmas Eve, knowing that there are no resources available, that even the nonprofits available might not be able to step in right away, was just a very not thoughtful thing to do from the Border Patrol standpoint of view.
The group was dropped off at the Rancho Del Oro Sprinter Station in Oceanside that has no direct connection to the airport.
not even aware of their whereabouts, right? Where they were, why they were there, how far they were from the airport. But they had no food, no water, no support, no cell phone lines or charge.
Other similar drop-offs were reported at El Cajon. But Disposti says many migrants dropped off in San Diego were processed in Arizona. Federal authorities confirm they sometimes move people from the place where they are being processed to a different sector along the border. Disposti has been providing airport transportation to some of the migrants this week. County Supervisor Jim Desmond tweeted Wednesday more than 1,000 migrants have been dropped off in San Diego, straining local resources available. CBP declined to say if more drop-offs in San Diego would be happening, but did provide a statement saying they ensure releases are conducted in a safe manner and essential support is provided upon release. With the uncertainty of future migrant drop-offs, North County organizations are mobilizing to be prepared. Greg Angel is with Interfaith Community Services.
We had a meeting with city officials, with community-based organizations, including MAX and the LGBTQ Center, to plan for how we will respond if there are additional asylum-seeking migrants who are dropped off in our communities.
Angel says community members wanting to help and get involved can reach out to supporting organizations throughout the county. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Ukraine's military says it managed to shoot down most of the missiles launched by Russia in a new surge of attacks. Even so, some of those bombs hit their targets, including the capital city of Kyiv. The missiles were aimed at a mix of civilian areas and energy infrastructure targets. The government says at least 3 people are known to have been killed. And we first introduced you to Ivan Chaban in September. He is a Ukrainian teenager who lost part of his leg in the war and was learning to walk again here in San Diego. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has an update on Ivan's latest challenge.
This is 16-year-old Ivan Chaban. Just 3 months ago, he was taking his first steps on a prosthetic leg. He'd been run over by a Russian tank in Ukraine, the same tank that killed his stepfather. Today, at the House of Ukraine, we had a little reunion.
That's been donated. So have you seen us painting? Yes, it's beautiful. We're doing a raffle for it.
His chaperone, Olena Horenko, quickly steps in to confirm. And his English is improving.
I like San Diego very much.
What hasn't improved as much as Ivan would like is his ability to walk. That's because he had to go through an extra surgery.
When
I met you first time, I just started prosthetic care, and then some challenges arrived and I had revision surgery.
But each day, walking becomes easier. But now Ivan is facing a new challenge. The San Diego family he and a chaperone are staying with only agreed to host them through the end of the year.
I really want his dreams to come true.
Mira Rubin is president of the House of Ukraine in Balboa Park, which is helping Ivan find a new home. She says because he doesn't have refugee status, the search is more complicated.
They're here for medical treatments. A lot of refugee resources do not apply to them.
Ivan says he's met so many good people in San Diego, and this feels more like home to him than any place he's ever known. He has hopes someone will open their heart and home to him again.
Yes, I don't believe in miracles, but I believe in people that make those miracles possible and happen.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
It might not seem like it on a cloudy day like this, but the risk of wildfires is only growing in parts of California. The State Department of Forestry and Fire Protection says 85% of rural land is now at a high or very high risk. That is up 14% from a prior analysis. Some of the storms we've seen lately will help in the short term.
Clouds, cool temperatures, spotty showers still with us, but there's a significant storm waiting in the wings for the weekend, and looks like on Saturday a soaking storm will arrive. Snow levels will be lowering with this one, so we could see some significant snows up in the high country. Now, as we take a look at the weather tonight, well, we'll see more of the same. Low clouds around, temperatures in the mid-50s. Clouds widespread overnight tonight. Mountain Lagoon is down to 37, down to 51. in El Cajon and 51 in Oceanside. Here's our future satellite and radar. And notice there's clouds around, but no precipitation really. Anything spotty and very light. All the significant moisture is still well to the north. So as we look at our Friday weather, another round of soaking rain for central and northern California and tremendous snows in the Sierra and some high winds returning too. Here we're generally dry, just a stray shower or two passing through. Otherwise it's clouds and sun. Temperatures hovering in the low 60s, Oceanside to Escondido and to San Diego. We'll be in the low 60s, Ramona, Mount Laguna's in the 40s, and Borrego Springs up to 67. Things start to change though on Saturday. We'll start to see the moisture swing down into Southern California, and we'll see a soaking rain move in, and there's the potential for localized flooding. Could see close to an inch near the coast, interior section, so we could see several inches of rain. Here's our forecast for the weekend, showing us a wet New Year's Eve. Sunday, we'll see some drier conditions, but it stays cool with winds subsiding. Inland sections getting wet Saturday into Saturday night, showers and cool into Sunday. And as we take you up to the mountains, starting off with some rain and then lowering snow levels down about 5,500 feet. Could see some heavier snows above that. And then it's windy and cool. And even in the deserts, we'll see some wet weather Saturday night into early on Sunday. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
Employees of a major San Diego-based nonprofit are accusing their CEO of sexist and racist employment practices. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has the story.
The San Diego Workforce Partnership is a quasi-governmental nonprofit that runs workforce training and job placement programs. Earlier this month, a former HR employee sued the organization and its CEO, Peter Karlstrom, accusing him of sex and race-based harassment and discrimination. But weeks before that lawsuit was filed, 12 employees of the nonprofit raised similar concerns in a letter to the organization's governing board. The board includes members of the San Diego City Council and a county supervisor. The letter says, in part, Mr. Karlstrom regularly singles out employees who are Black, Indigenous, or people of color to dismiss or harass until they depart. It continues, Mr. Karlstrom's misconduct undermines the Workforce Partnership's efforts to serve your constituents, keeping the people who work here from providing the service those constituents deserve. The employees have thus far remained anonymous. They also claim Karlstrom had a practice of using public funds to pay hush money to employees who confronted him over his behavior. Karlstrom's attorney sent KPBS a statement saying Peter Karlstrom has dedicated his 30-plus year human services career to serving underserved and underrepresented job seekers, addressing systemic racism, gender inequality, disability rights, and people experiencing homelessness. Mr. Karlstrom was unaware of these anonymous allegations. He is confident that if looked into, they would be found to lack merit. The county government has hired a law firm to investigate the letter's claims. All 4 of the Workforce Partnership's governing board members were either unavailable or declined to comment. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
There's more reason than ever before not to drink and drive across San Diego this New Year's Eve. Public transport will be free after 6 p.m. on December 31st in an effort to encourage partygoers to leave their cars at home. KPBS reporter Claire Strong has the story.
Safety is the #1 priority.
Gather safely and travel safely. That's the message to New Year's Eve revelers in San Diego who have been urged to take advantage of free public transportation on Saturday instead of getting behind the wheel. It's part of a county-wide program between the Metropolitan Transit System, North County Transit District, and law enforcement agencies.
So we have free parking at all of our stations, so that's one, hopefully, inconvenience that's solved. Also, when people get on, there will be, again, many schedules in terms of being able to have different stops. We have 7 different stations across the county, and so there are definitely frequent stops for folks to be able to get in and get out. And then, of course, if they go online, they can check out any of the other ways for them to get around in partnership with MTS.
Partygoers will be able to ride the trolley, train, and bus free of charge after 6 p.m. from various locations across the county. New Year's Eve is traditionally one of the busiest nights of the year for DUIs, and extra police will be on duty to help monitor the county's roads.
New Year's Eve is a maximum enforcement period for us, so we have every available resource deployed for this weekend for maximum enforcement. We're going to be looking for distracted and DUI drivers to try to keep our roadways as safe as possible.
Electronic messaging boards displaying reminders about driving under the influence of drink and drugs have also been installed on roads throughout San Diego. And there's a reminder that prescription drugs and over-the-counter medicines can also impair people's ability to drive safely.
I think it's really cool that the city's doing that because it takes care of the people that are partying, but also the people that aren't partying too.
My dad's always like, don't drive on New Year's and New Year's Eve, so I think that would make all of us feel a lot safer.
In addition to reducing the number of drunk and drug-related car crashes on New Year's Eve, the program could also have a positive impact on local businesses. Restaurant and bar owners are hoping customers will order extra drinks, safe in the knowledge they won't have to drive home.
It gives our patrons and guests a place to come without worrying about drinking and driving, which is the #1 concern for all.
And partygoers will have more than enough time to ring in the new year, as the free public transportation will run way past 1 a.m. Claire Strong, KPBS News.
Movie audiences are showing up to see the latest Avatar movie in a big way. The long-awaited sequel, The Way of Water, just passed $1 billion in worldwide ticket sales. It's one of just a handful of movies to ever reach that milestone. And you can find KPBS Cinema Junkie Beth Accomando's review on our YouTube page. San Diego's Digital Gym Cinema is hosting its annual year-end FYC, or For Your Consideration series, highlighting films that are getting attention this award season. KPBS Cinema Junkie Beth Accomando has a preview.
When India chose Last Film Show as its official entry for Oscar's Best International Feature, it was probably hoping the film's love of cinema would win over Academy voters. But by ignoring the Indian blockbuster RRR, it may have unintentionally given RRR a leg up in the race for a Best Picture nomination. The snub has spurred a grassroots Oscar campaign on Twitter and prompted a theatrical re-release of the film. While 45 million people have seen RRR streaming on Netflix, the epic action film deserves to be seen on the big screen. The film is ridiculously fun, with each action scene topping the previous one with a new level of insanity. The RRR's maximalist filmmaking seems to celebrate the very power movies can have over an audience. So I can't think of a better way to close out the year than seeing RRR at Digital Gym Cinema. At the opposite end of the cinematic scale is the exquisitely subtle, minimalist filmmaking of Joanna Hogg in The Eternal Daughter. The film has the trappings of a ghost story.
Memories flood back in this place.
But it's also about grief and loss. The amazing Tilda Swinton plays a dual role as both a daughter and her mother.
Happy birthday, Mom.
It's a very interior film, both in terms of being physically confined inside a creaky old hotel and being psychologically trapped inside the daughter's emotional space. It's a perfect film for those who prefer drama on a human scale. Equally delicate and affecting is Charlotte Wells' After Sun. Sophie and her dad are on a rare holiday together.
I love you.
Love you. After Sun serves up both a coming-of-age film and a story about the adult Sophie looking back on treasured memories to come to terms with her relationship with her estranged father. It's a beautifully constructed film made up of fragments of memories. So enjoy this trio of films for your consideration. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Some really interesting picks there. Now, if you are packing up your Christmas decorations and getting ready to throw out your tree, here is a reminder that you can recycle it for free. Now through January 23rd, clean, undecorated trees can be dropped off as part of the 49th Annual Christmas Tree Recycling Program. All 17 location drop-offs can be found on our website, kpbs.org. And this week, we're revisiting some of our top stories of 2022. Over the summer, we got a look at how the city of San Diego is rethinking how it uses its public spaces to help fill its housing shortage. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen shows us how libraries might play a part.
And the reason why we're here today is the construction of a new Oak Park branch library.
Last month, Mayor Gloria gathered with several colleagues to make an exciting announcement. The state of California was giving San Diego $20 million to help design and construct a new library for Oak Park. When I heard the news, my mind immediately went back to the mayor's 2021 State of the City address. Among a slew of new housing policies, Gloria said this:
"We know that real estate is at a premium in San Diego, which is why I will implement plans to incorporate housing when we redevelop or build new city facilities. This could mean building apartments on top of new libraries and fire stations. And I will take a thoughtful approach to make sure that our transit system and our infrastructure can support these new units."
So I had to ask, will Oak Park's new library be the first in San Diego to include housing? The answer is no. The mayor's office says the project is too far along to change, and delays could jeopardize the state funding. But there have been conversations in other neighborhoods about mixing libraries with housing.
It really started out as a conversation about how to get a new library and how to get a larger library.
I meet Arya Punaki outside the North Park Library. It has a lot in common with the old library in Oak Park that's due to be replaced. It's more than 50 years old, it's small, and it doesn't have the kind of things people need from their libraries nowadays, like community meeting rooms. Punaki helped lead a discussion at the North Park Planning Committee earlier this year about building a new library with housing on top.
Because we do have a nice sized lot here, and as the community's been growing over time, there's a common criticism that there isn't enough infrastructure being invested at the same time that we have all this new growth. And so how can we incorporate, a way to tackle the housing crisis and create this infrastructure for our new larger population here in North Park?
The response Punaki got from city officials wasn't encouraging. North Park isn't anywhere near the top of the list when it comes to getting new libraries. Other neighborhoods like Oak Park have even greater needs. And absent a large charitable donation to kickstart the process, the city isn't likely to redevelop this land anytime soon. Still, Punaki hasn't given up on the idea. The library is surrounded by new apartment buildings, and it's in one of the city's most walkable, transit-rich neighborhoods.
This is a really ideal place to incorporate not only these, the public good of a library, but the public good of maybe affordable housing as well.
As I say, the walls are separating from the foundation. That's never good.
Less than a mile away sits another deteriorating city building, the North Park Community Adult Center. That's where I meet Stephen Russell, head of the nonprofit San Diego Housing Federation. He says when public assets like these reach the end of their useful life, it's incumbent on city officials to reimagine them, and the land is too valuable to build just one story.
But if we have a single-story building, what are we putting above it? It is a wasted opportunity if we aren't in some manner making use of that space. Single-story buildings in a built environment like this is always a wasted opportunity.
But there's an extra complication with this building. It's part of the North Park Community Park. When the City Council passed an ordinance last February to streamline housing built on top of public facilities, it excluded facilities located on parkland. Russell says he's not sure that makes sense, especially when a building already exists, and making it taller wouldn't require sacrificing any actual parkland. Adding housing to the park might even make it safer.
And I think in North Park, in particular, you have a park that is, unobserved. There's lots of illicit activities that have gone on in the past. Maybe having more apartments, more eyes on the street, more eyes on the green, maybe, would actually help the situation.
City officials were not able to name a single library, fire station, rec center, or other public facility where there are concrete plans in motion to incorporate housing. But they did get a grant to study the concept's feasibility more closely. A report is due out sometime next year. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
And this Friday on KPBS News This Week, we'll look back on some of the biggest stories of 2022. And that airs Friday at 8:30 right here on KPBS with several replays over the weekend. And of course, you can find it on the KPBS YouTube page. And that is where we have last week's show, which features some of our best arts and entertainment stories from the past year.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, Southwest Airlines promises a return to normal after canceling thousands more flights. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And And we wrap up tonight with a road trip many are taking to Orange County to catch a glimpse of an unlikely visitor. Michelle Geely tells us about the exciting end-of-the-year surprise for bird watchers.
Sure is pretty. Bird lovers are flocking to Cyprus.
I consider it an honor to be able to see the bird, and just something I can kind of put a feather in my cap, so to speak, no pun intended.
A snowy owl is making a rare appearance in sunny Southern California.
It's so exciting. I see a bird that does not belong here.
For snowy owls, home is normally the Arctic tundra. But of late, Orange County residents have seen the raptor flying from one rooftop to another in their neighborhood, not far from the Joint Forces training base in Los Alamitos.
So not supposed to be down in this area. So whenever there's things that are not in the area, we like to go chase them.
10-year-old Lily Vasquez is one of those captivated by its presence.
It looks nice and fluffy, and it's really lazy.
The cute little visitor is drawing a crowd. This birder is from Carlsbad.
I think I'd heard about it yesterday and was kind of hesitant to come because I didn't want to mob the owl, but just decided to make a quick trip.
It's day 2 of the Snowy Owl Summit. Bird watchers and photographers are standing on 2 streets in order to get a peek at this beautiful creature. One neighbor even rolled out the red carpet for these visitors. He set up a table and filled it with coffee and water.
It's a mystery as to why a wise owl would trade the wilderness for the chaos of California. Local veterinarian Scott Weldy has never heard of a snowy owl landing this far south.
The only thing it has to worry about here is there's a lot more potential damage, things that can happen to it, because we have a lot more cars, we have power lines, we have the windmills. I mean, we have tons of things that traumatize flying birds in Southern California.
You can still see his tail.
Birder Rob Young is relishing the once-in-a-lifetime experience.
It's huge. My understanding is this is the first time since approximately 1928. Some people are saying 100 years.
And that was Michelle Geely reporting. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you. Tonight at 8, New Year's news in San Diego over past decades. Then explore the process of planting and using local hops. And later, take a step back in time and learn about the historic town of Julian. That's tonight on KPBS.
2022 has been a year of challenges. No matter what the new year brings, KPBS will be here for you. Give to KPBS before the year ends, December